So there's this illegal immigrant. He was living in Maryland, designated MS-13 terrorist, and Donald Trump deported him. How does that make you feel?
I feel safer.
He gotta go. He gotta go.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk a little bit more about the so-called Maryland man who was mistakenly deported back to his native El Salvador, Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Now, you guys know the story. This guy is an MS-13 gang member confirmed by not one but two different judges. He was committing criminal activity over here, arrested for suspicion of human trafficking here in Tennessee, and it was only when the Biden administration made a phone call and said, hey, let that man go, that he was released for that. Then he was beating his wife. She took out a restraining order. Michael Strahan asked her about that on ABC, and she said, oh, well, I'm glad he's alive. What kind of a non-answer is that? This guy is not a church boy, not a good boy. He is in his native El Salvador, where you should be. He is in a Salvadoran prison, which is where you should be. Now, the Democrats are going to say, well, look, he was denied his due process. He shouldn't have been deported. There was a court order talking about don't deport him because if you deport him, he's going to fall victim to gangs. What's that got to do with me? Why should I care about that? Americans, I'm willing to bet all the tea in China, all the cash in my pocket. If you did a poll right now of all Americans, I would say at least 70 to 80% either don't care about this case or they say that you should not bring him back, leave him right where he's at. I'm willing to bet you. However, Democrats, you know what they're going to do? They're going to be Democrats, and they're going to do stuff like this. Do you see this? This is their official page, the Democratic Party. You can see it right there, at the Democrats. Now, these individuals are sitting members of Congress in the USA who have traveled to El Salvador to try and get this guy free. It's like, what are y'all doing? You going to try to do a prison break to have him come back to the country illegally? So he get deported again and sent right back to the same place. Okay, so you see what it says right here. House Democrats travel to El Salvador to secure Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return. All these people from Oregon, from Maryland, from Florida, from all over the place. Why? It's not popular. Now, before we get into the reaction from the people in Maryland about this case, let's just get to what some of these people are saying. Okay. Some of these individuals, members of Congress, I'll link to this video and everything else in the description box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
After a long day, we have arrived in El Salvador. I am here with several of my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump release Kilmar Abrego Garcia, union member, Maryland man who was wrongfully detained and deported.
We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
We're also here to make a statement that this cannot be allowed and isn't allowed in our country.
This is a massive due process crisis in our country.
So instead of spending Easter Sunday with their families, Democrats went on an egg hunt in El Salvador.
Exactly. Now, that's just some of them right there. And we're not even seeing the main man, the guy who kind of sparked all of this, which is Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. Now, speaking about Maryland, let's go to Maryland and see what they think about all of this. Let's ask the people on the ground, Chris Van Hollen's constituents. Let's ask them what they think about this. Again, if you ask me, if they do a poll, you're probably going to see 70 to 80% of Americans either don't care about this case or they do not want him to return. I'm willing to bet all the money in the world on that, but let's watch.
So there's this illegal immigrant. He was living in Maryland, designated MS-13 terrorist, and Donald Trump deported him. How does that make you feel?
I feel safer.
He gotta go. He gotta go.
Need to go. I mean, that's it.
But he was a father.
But he's still a terrorist.
Okay. I mean, but there's children living without fathers now.
And it's a lot of guys, it's a lot of American fathers locked up. And nobody cares. It's like, okay, you did the crime and do the time. You didn't broke into somewhere, doing something you shouldn't be doing, whipping your wife, human trafficking. Nah, man, you got to get up out of here. And if that is the standard for Americans to get locked up when we do wrong, why is it different for them? You see, a lot of Americans find it insulting that illegal aliens are being treated better than they are.
should have picked and choose, so he picked to be a terrorist instead of worrying about his children.
The Democrats, they want him back. They say he was wrongfully deported. He has a wife and a kid who's a citizen. They're calling this a national emergency. Is this a national emergency?
I wouldn't call it a national emergency. We got more things going on.
We have more things, more fish to fry.
I just found out about it, so I don't think so. What kind of national emergency? For what? What is the emergency for?
Ain't no national emergency, no.
He was accused of hitting his wife twice and was a suspected human smuggler. Was he wrongfully deported?
No, he need to go.
If he's a smuggler, yeah, he needs to be deported.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Your senator here, Chris Van Hollen, he flew to El Salvador where this guy was deported. He met with them, had lunch with them, had margaritas on the table. What's up with your senator?
I have no idea, but I do believe that was a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Margaritas, yes, margaritas, yes. What Van Hollen say? Oh, we ain't drinking. They just put them right. They put the drinks right there on the table. There was a whole big thing about whether he had taken the sip of the margarita or not, which really is kind of a unnecessary thing to discuss because that's not the real problem. The problem is you're down there to begin with. Why are you even down there talking to this guy at all? You should be up in Maryland worrying about that. Why are you in a foreign country trying to get somebody who is not even a U.S. citizen out of prison, a gang member? The president of El Salvador came to the White House and said he's a gang member, a terrorist, and they don't want to smuggle a terrorist into the USA. So you're trying to deny the will of your people. You're trying to deny the will of the Salvadoran people. So who are you serving? If you're not serving your constituents in Maryland or the people of El Salvador, who are you serving?
Agreeing with somebody whooping their wife, terrorizing where you live, then you don't need to live here either.
Senator Van Hollen, you need to come see me, Mr. Coley, because you doing like that. You need to take care of home before you go in other states.
He went to El Salvador.
Oh, that's another country, excuse me.
What has Senator Chris Van Hollen ever done for you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
For me, nothing.
Nothing that I know of.
He ain't do me. I can admit that.
I've never even heard of this person.
Do you want Kilmar Abrego Garcia, this quote-unquote Maryland dad, living back in Maryland?
No. No.
Why would we want him? Like, why do we want him? I don't understand. Why do we want, like, listen, I have nothing against legal immigrants. I have nothing against anybody from a specific country because of your country of origin. Whether you come from the Central American region, South America, whether you're Canadian for some reason. Shout out to the Canadians, but some of y'all got to stay up there. But I don't care where you come from, but you got to do things right. You got to do things legally. And we don't want criminals. The same way that those countries don't want criminals, the same way the Salvadoran people don't want criminals in the streets, Americans don't want criminals in the streets either. We got enough criminals who were born and raised in the USA to deal with. So it makes no sense for us to import more criminals and deal with them, especially when they already locked up. Why would you try to free a criminal from prison to bring them right back to the country so they could commit more criminal activity? It makes no sense at all.
No.
No.
Not if he's doing trafficking, no.
Why the want somebody like that back? No.
What is your message to the Democrats who really want him back in your community?
Why would you want that in my community? Bring it to your community and see how long you like it up there.
Leave them, or y'all go over there with them.
You're focused on the wrong thing.
If they illegal coming over here, send them back.
Right on. Absolutely. Hey, absolutely. If they are illegal, if they criminals, why do we want them? We want people that come over here and do the right thing. If you're going to be an immigrant, do it right. Follow the law. The same thing I would tell any other American. If you're going to be in this country, just do right. Don't be committing crime and violence and hurting people and stealing and looting and carrying on and causing distress on college campuses. Don't nobody got no time for that. Nobody has time for that. So shout out to those great citizens of Maryland. A lot of Baltimoreans, a lot of DC guys. Shout out to those people who understand the truth. Now, as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to everybody that agrees with those people who just spoke. To the leaders, to these congressmen from Orlando, Florida, from Oregon, from Maryland. Like, what are you doing? Why are y'all trying to advocate for this person? It's not popular. It may be popular among DC people and cable news people on the left. It's popular among them, but it's not popular among the majority of people. You're talking about due process didn't get followed, the law didn't get followed. Where was the law a thing that mattered? When did the law become a thing that mattered to the left? When you dumped 20 million illegal aliens upon our shores, giving them free plane rides to wherever they want to go. They show up at the border illegally. They hop on the plane to go to straight to New York City, Denver, Colorado, and then battle with poor people there for resources. A lot of black folks, other Hispanics, white folks, everybody. We saw it Springfield, Ohio, on a small kind of city level. We saw it on the big city level, New York City, Denver, Colorado, Chicago. Why would any Americans actually want that? Because they might work, some of them, and they might do things for a little bit cheaper. Maybe. But yet we still, as Americans, as I close the reel, we spent 450 billion US dollars a year on these people. So how are they helping us? They're not helping us. They are a burden. They are an expense. They're dangerous. And it's time it came to an end. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the fight to, quote unquote, bring him back home, even though he's at home because he's from El Salvador, a citizen of El Salvador, and he's in a Salvadoran prison? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. As I said from the jump, if you did a poll, I'm willing to bet that 80 to 90% of Americans do not agree with bringing this guy back. Due process, all that, don't nobody care about that. It doesn't make any sense because all you're going to do is have him here illegally, which is not right, and then send him right back to where he's at. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And if Democrats knew any better, they would back off of this because it's not going to help them at all. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.